everyone. Welcome to the library. We're so excited to have you here today. My name is Jess. I'm the Adult Services Librarian. This is Evan. He's the Assistant Director here. And when we got the phone call 2 weeks ago, that's when they said, can we bring in Goose on November 1st, there was no doubt about it that the answer was yes. You filled up registration instantly. I think we posted it at 2:45. By that evening, I think we had 30 or 40 registrations. By the time we left work on Saturday, it was up to 70, and it was full by Monday. So we're so excited. We're as excited as you are to have Goose here. So please join us in welcoming Mac, Michael, and Joni. They are here from the Oasis Reptile Refuge and Sanctuary. They'll tell you a bit about that. That's where Goose lives. And we have just a couple of announcements. So one is we would love for you to follow us on Instagram and our YouTube page. But we have a little contest going. So after Goose leaves today, there will be a post of him with his new library card. And if you comment on that, I met Goose, the Gladys Kelly Library, you'll be entered to win a canvas poster that our dear friend and marketing expert, Kate, made for today. So that's a fun contest to keep an eye out for. And I think those stickers went fast. Is that right, Pat? Phew, okay. But those are for the next session as well. Yeah. So we have stickers made for those folks who couldn't be with us today for this event. They didn't register in time. They will not say I met Goose, but they'll say Goose visits the library so that they won't be lying in sticker form. So those will be available as a little Friends of the Library fundraiser, but please do check out all of the information that our friends have. We are so excited to have Goose here today and to have you here to welcome him. And I think that's it, but let me ask Evan.
I think that's good.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over. Welcome and have a great time.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you guys so much for coming out to the library today. We're super duper excited to be able to do this. It is something that we've had such a huge amount of interest in people having the opportunity to meet our friend Goose here. So it's been a long story, and as Webster residents or anyone from neighboring towns probably knows, he's a little bit of a celebrity. We get questions about him at every single event that we go to throughout Massachusetts, all the way up into New Hampshire and even down into Connecticut. People are just really enthralled with an animal just like him, especially with his story. So I just want to have a couple of very important ground rules and rules before I go ahead and talk a little bit more about him, his story, and our sanctuary. This is the first event that Goose has ever done. He has not been out at all whatsoever. He has strictly been at our sanctuary since he was captured at the Douglas State Forest. So please, please, please stay in our seats and do not move. If we get too loud, we will have to put him back into his space. He's really not super thrilled with loud noises or sudden movements. He's just still getting used to becoming an ambassador animal, and we're still judging if it is something that makes sense for him in his personality. But like Jess mentioned, my name is Mac, and I'm here today from Rainforest Reptile Shows in RRS Oasis. It's two different entities. Rainforest Reptile Shows does educational outreach programs like we're doing today, all across New England with all different kinds of reptile species, things like alligators, snakes, lizards, and those animals are all previously owned pets that someone couldn't take care of. They had illegally, somewhat similar to Goose's situation, or they were confiscated by law enforcement in an abuse case or something similar. RRS Oasis was actually established after Rainforest Reptile Shows in 2016, after we had so many animals come into our care. We have about 400 animals at the sanctuary at a given time, and they all consist of those similar situations. We do not purchase animals for programming or anything like that. We use animals that had not a great situation, give them a second lease on life, and have the opportunity to educate through outreach programming. It's so important to us that we can actually take you guys along on a journey with us to be able to learn about the natural world and have that experience to not only be able to see them in person, but also at times have the opportunity to touch and maybe even hold some of the animals that we bring with us. Today, we will not have the opportunity to touch our friend Goose. This is all still very new to him. And as you can see, Michael's been working with him a little bit to kind of get him used to coming out, and he will be out on his hand for as long as he really wants to. We want to promote as much choice and control for an animal like this so that they get used to these opportunities and it's not so stressful for them every single time that they were to come out. For him, he always feels much more comfortable being up higher in the air, and he'll go on your head if you let him. Just but it is something incredibly unique for an animal like this. But RRS Oasis is such an important organization. The reason why an animal like Goose actually... You're stealing the show, bud, and we knew you would, but... the reason why an animal like this is so critically important is because they don't have that choice. We created this organization, RRS Oasis, because we do have so many animals come into our care. We've been working with law enforcement since 1996 at Rainforest Reptile Shows through a situation that actually had 1995, excuse me, through a situation where a snouted cobra was actually loose in a Stoneham school. Michael actually went out, captured that animal, and ever since we've been working with law enforcement. We've been the professionals that go out in these situations to consult if there's an animal that's out loose, or especially if it's a potentially dangerous species. Crocodilians, large monitor lizards, large constricting snakes, venomous reptiles, venomous lizards, venomous snakes, things like that, even arachnids, and we've also consulted on things like tigers, lions, all different kinds of animals across the world. And we've all actually had the opportunity to work in AZA-accredited institutions or zoos across the country. I worked at the Brevard Zoo down in Florida for many, many years. Michael actually was the operations manager at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm in Florida, where we actually get our experience. But enough about us. Let's talk a little bit about Goose. I'm sure everyone here has an idea of what happened with Goose and the situation that all kind of came to this exact moment. So Goose was actually owned illegally as a pet. They are not legal to possess in the state of Massachusetts. Some people think that's not a good law. Other people think that's a great law. But it is the law, and we need to follow it because in situations like this, where an animal were to escape, it can actually create situations where more strict laws are put in place because some people are not following the situations that we need to. It's very, very important, and animals... Yeah, he looks really comfortable. He's just getting a grip. But in general, it is incredibly important that we do follow the law. We do consult in these situations with law enforcement, so if they are unsure of what a species is, they will ask us. They'll send us a picture or ask questions, and we can answer from that standing point. So he did escape from a house here in Webster, out on Blueberry Lane, and he actually was found about 2.5 miles away in the Douglas State Forest. And something very cool today, we actually have Webster Animal Control here, who is actually on the scene in the situation where Goose was captured, which we all really weren't 100% sure would happen. So can we all just give her a big round of applause? Desiree, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Without her... Yeah. Douglas State. Yeah. Yeah, so without all of those individuals, we probably wouldn't have Goose with us here today, and it might not have been such an amazing story. I mean, who here thought that we would actually have a press release for a lizard this summer? I definitely didn't. We never expected it. But it's so incredibly amazing to see the support for an animal like this. We've been doing this for a very long time, and we do really appreciate everyone here who is so interested in helping to promote not only proper animal care, but an animal that is sometimes misunderstood. Our scaly creatures, reptiles, are commonly misunderstood, and a lot of people have a fear of them when they really don't need to. They're so incredibly important for the environments that they actually exist in their wild ranges, and they can make very good pets as long as they're done responsibly and we choose something that is legal to possess in the area that we live. But he was found in Douglas State Forest. He was actually hiding in a hole, and he had been there for multiple days. With Desiree's help, as well as the environmental police and the Douglas State Forest guys, they actually were able to make a mark in chalk on the road piece that he kept going out in the morning to bask and warm up his body. These guys, they're ectothermic creatures, which means outside temperature. They're not actually cold-blooded like a lot of people think. So he uses the air around him to warm up his body, which is why he was out basking in that sunlight. To warm up his body, he was sitting down in a hole, and he kept doing the same exact thing each day around the same time. And that's actually what led to him being located in that hole, and there is actually video online of the capture process if you're interested in seeing that. But a lot of things had to go right for Goose to be found. A lot of things really did have to go right for Goose to be found. You look really good in that mustache. Yeah, it looks amazing. Maybe a visor instead, you know. It can hold your hair back. So, in general, a lot of things had to go right, and we're so happy that they did, because if they didn't, on a day like today or over the last few weeks when we've had such a cold snap and the temperatures have dropped, an animal like this can't survive in the New England weather. There's no way for them to warm up their bodies. They don't have the same systems like humans do. We're called endothermic, which means inside temperature. We use food to help make sure our body temperature stays pretty consistent. This guy, he uses the air elements or elements around him to actually do that. So it wouldn't have been such an amazing story if he wasn't captured in the time frame that he was. But guys, you can tell he is very, very well behaved in general. He really is just very curious. Animals like this are incredibly intelligent. Monitor lizards, he's I should have said before, he is a water monitor or a common water monitor, Asiatic water monitor. These guys are one of the most intelligent reptile species that we actually have on the planet. Large lizard species in the Varanus grouping, which is what the large monitors are incredibly intelligent. They need all different kinds of things to help make sure that they're cognitively stimulated, or their brains always have something to think about or to do in front of them. They're also carnivorous, which means they eat meats. He loves all different kinds of things. Right now, we've actually found out that probably his favorite food is things like beef and rats and mice. Those are the two most things that he typically eats commonly. He eats about a small meal every day or so. An animal like this, who is going to be traveling to find their food, does eat more frequently. He's a really good hat. He really is. Yeah. But, yeah. No, don't say that. Don't say that. But guys, a few things about the entity and what we do. We are actually hosting a fundraiser on November 8th, a week from today, up in Concord, New Hampshire. It is a little far from here, but if you guys do want to support the sanctuary, we would very appreciate it. It is a ticketed event. We do have more information out on our social media pages if you are interested. A few other things to help generate funds for not only Goose's new space, which I'm sure a lot of people have been able to see through videos online. It's a massive area with a nice giant pond, naturalistic trees, perchings, areas that he can actually be able to show all those natural behaviors that are so important for a monitor lizard like this. We actually have generated about $5,000 to be able to provide that space for them. And we really do want to thank every single one of you guys here for helping to promote that message and actually showcase why animals like this are so critically important. But if you would like to show additional support, we do have a donation area out the end when you guys exit. You can feel free to take a look over there. We also do have... Yes, for sure. for sure. But yes, in general, if you guys would like to donate towards the sanctuary, we really would appreciate it. We also do have shirts available for people to purchase. There's a link out there that you can look at on your phone. There's stickers as well. All that goes to support the 501c3 Sanctuary RRS Oasis and about 400 animals that we do have in our care. Some other things that have made the news from animals similar to Goose here. We did actually earlier this year get an animal from New Hampshire. Out on one of the market baskets there was actually a snake that was shipped up, a mildly venomous species that was shipped up in a transport of bananas. It never made it out to the floor. You guys don't need to worry about snakes and the bananas when you go to the grocery store. But it was something that also does push the general messaging of why these animals are critically important to their areas. And when they do have those situations, there is a home for animals just like Goose here. Like Michael said, we did get a venomous gaboon viper and puff adder somewhat recently. We also took in a Burmese python from Connecticut within the last couple of weeks, as well as some other snake species. But in totality for the year, we've probably taken in at least 50 animals. And these are all depending on the size. Some large snakes, some large lizards, smaller animals, all different kinds of things. But guys, did anyone here have any questions about Goose? Yeah. Where was he found when he was out? Or, I'm sorry. Awesome. Any other questions? Did you have... Did you have a question, sweetie? So they're carnivores. They love to eat things like rats and mice. They like birds and eggs. Who here eats birds and eggs? Anybody? Well, wait a second. Who eats chicken nuggets? Yeah, that's a bird. Who eats turkey on the holidays? Thanksgiving's coming up. That's a big bird. It's not Big Bird, but it's a big bird. Does anyone here like scrambled eggs? Yeah, that's a scrambled bird. That's kind of gross. And what about eggnog? Who here drinks eggnog? Anyone? Well, that's a liquid chicken, and that's disgusting. I don't know why anyone drinks that stuff. But he loves to eat all those different kinds of foods. They don't eat their fruits and veggies. They only eat meat products. Yep. Yeah, did you have a question? What's your question? Really good question. So we do know that Goose is actually 5 years old from the information that we actually got from the environmental police. Great question. Yeah. So his permanent habitat that he lives in, we built, but what?
He built.
Oh, well, a lot of us did. Well, thank you guys, thank you. But in general, yeah, we did build this. This is actually a transport space that we use just for displaying all different kinds of things. But yeah, Goose had one at one point. Yeah, he was a pretty good helper. But this is just a travel space that we use for people to be able to see. Any other questions? Yeah, did you have a question? I do. That's very cool. And if anyone would like a coloring book, there are some out at the front if you guys would like to grab one on your way out. Thanks, sweetie. Did you have a question? Well, Goose loves to drink all different kinds of... No, he doesn't drink people. Oh, Red Bull. I thought you said people. A little bit different. But no, he drinks water. So he has a large 300-gallon tub in his space that he has filtered that he can drink from whenever he likes to. Yeah. So we've only had him since mid-August or so, if I'm remembering right. Yeah. When he was captured, he was transported directly to us, and we've had him ever since. Good question. Yeah. So I don't know exactly where he had come from, but I believe the environmental police made a statement on that prior at the press release. But he had come from someone that had him illegally in the state where he had escaped, and that's where he was found on the road on Southwest Main Street.
Also, remember that this is a legal trade. These animals are legally traded in many, many states.
you have a question? So these guys are native to Southeast Asia, all across the peninsula area. There, they have large populations, and actually in the areas that they exist, you'll actually see them walking across the road, and people actually coexist with them, just like we would see geese on the side of the road at times. Oh, awesome question. So Michael just brought up, why is his coloration the way that it is? So he's what you call melanistic, which means that he's actually got an extended... No, that's okay. Woo. So he's got extra black pigmentation throughout his body. That's not something that's normal for a species like this. When you look at a wild type, they actually have a lot of yellow markings that go across their bodies. They're not quite as black in coloration. Yep, yep. Any other questions? Over here. Yeah, did you have a question, sweetie? What does he do all day? Well, that's a really good question. So he's got all different kinds of options. So he's got a nice, warm, heated box that he likes to spend a lot of his time in, where he kind of just rests and doesn't use a ton of his energy. Otherwise, he has all different places to climb. He can climb up his tree, his perches, his ramps. He's got a nice big area on the bottom, and then he's also got a swimming pool that he can swim in whenever he likes to. Really good question, though. Did you have a question? Oh, hold on one sec. I might have, but I did get permission from him. Yep, yep. Did you have a question, sweetie? He's about 4.5 feet long. We measured him, but it was a rough measurement, and it was about 4.5 feet.
He wasn't that massive animal that the news companies reported.
Yeah, yeah. He wasn't.
When I first heard the news reports and the environmental police called me and said, he's 7 feet, I'm like, he can't be. So we didn't know what we were looking for, what size we were looking for. We just knew it was a monitor lizard, and when I saw him, I was like, that's not what they do.
Yeah, did you have a question? No, so these guys are, I believe, listed as least concern, and they're not considered an endangered species or anything like that in their native range. Yeah. Yeah, did you have a question, bud? How big can he get? Oh, so these guys, they're usually going to get into their 20s or so, depending on the individual. Good question, though. Right now, the last weight that he had was 11.5 pounds. Yeah, good question. Any other questions, friends? Yeah. Great question. So they are typically considered solitary. They're not going to be a group species. They're typically going to have somewhat of a territory, but they do travel quite a bit. Most of the time, an animal like this is not going to be existing in large groups or anything like that. They're going to be solitary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, we'll start over here. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Some of the videos that swimming in the water were snapping, common snapping turtles. Common snapping turtles run with their head up and with their tail up in the water, and the back of the shell looks like an alligator going through the water. We get a lot of reports of that. But a monitor lizard like this has his head up like a snake. He's going to be high in the water column. You're going to see that tail wagging back and forth just like a crocodile, and it's just not. The videos we saw were not.
In correct, yeah. Most likely he found that one location where he was located and he stayed there the entire time. It would be highly unlikely that he actually made it down into Connecticut. Of course, we weren't expecting to be able to find him, so there's always a chance things could happen, but most likely it's less likely. Yeah, yeah. In general, these guys, so they are solitary animals. They are going to find mates during mating season, which is typically going to be around the monsoon times down in Southeast Asia, and they're going to compete. So males will actually fight for different females that they locate, and then they breed, and they will actually separate. So they're typically going to bury their eggs once they're laid. They'll actually hatch up out of the ground, and there's no considered maternal care or paternal care or anything like that. Great question. Yeah. Yes, they do. So lizards and reptiles in general, and even people actually shed their skin. When you're looking at lizards like this or snakes, they shed their skin in large pieces because they're actually getting larger over time, and that's a way that they can actually make sure that those skin cells are regenerating all the time. Great question. Any other questions? Yeah. Say it again. Do they never hurt people? So Goose in general is a very friendly creature, but of course he can get scared at times. So you could see when he was on Michael's head that he does use his claws to grab onto things, and sometimes he can scratch us, but in general he is very friendly. However, a large monitor lizard that's not used to people could be dangerous to people. So it's very important if we're in an area where there are types of animals like that we don't go up to them and we don't try and poke and prod at them.
Exactly why we told police departments do not, make sure people know, do not approach this animal, call the experts, find him, or call animal control and the environmental police, because they can potentially bite. Any animal can. A dog can, a cat can, any animal can bite. Humans can.
Any other questions, friends? Yeah. Yeah, so they can. Their tails are very long. They also use it to balance themselves when they're gripping onto things like trees, like you saw when he was climbing. But in general, they can use that tail like a whip. Their tails are so fast when they move them that they can do some serious damage. But they 100% use it as a defense mechanism against large predators. Great question. Any other questions, friends? Yeah. So no, these guys are going to typically average about 7-ish feet or so, but there have been known to get about 9 feet long. So he's only about 5 years old or so. He will get larger. Yep. Great question. Any other questions? I saw a hand up over here. Yeah. Great question. So these guys, they don't smell like we do through their nostrils. They just use their nostrils to breathe. They actually use their tongues to smell. They stick that long tongue out in the air, and that's another way that we can tell if he's nervous or if there's things going on, what he's trying to figure out. They smell very well. They can smell better than people can. They stick that tongue out in the air. They pick up all the little specks and particles that we can't see. They stick it back into their mouths, into two holes on the roof of their mouth called Jacobson's organs, and that's actually how they smell. It's a much more direct sense, and it's much stronger than a human's developed sense of smell. Yeah. Great question. So there was a lot of questions about this at the beginning when he was still loose, is do these guys have bacteria in their mouths? And yes, absolutely. Any animal that is carnivorous is going to have all different kinds of bacteria. What those exact species of bacteria are depend on the species. There's actually been a lot of updated research on monitor lizards and actually discussing if they're venomous. So Komodo dragons have actually been confirmed as a venomous lizard. They've actually found developed or underdeveloped venom glands similar to things like Gila monsters and beaded lizards, other venomous lizards. They're not 100% sure. Some scientists will tell you that these guys are venomous. Other ones aren't. There isn't any definitive evidence displaying that they're venomous, but they do have bacteria in their mouths. If they were to bite a person, it would do some serious damage, and you would 100% need something like an antibiotic. Yeah, great question. Yeah, back here. Does he miss his family? That's a really good question. So like we just talked about a couple minutes ago, these guys, their moms and their dads, they're not going to be caring for them the same way like our moms and dads do all the time. They're not quite as connected with their family as, say, humans are. So that's a really good question. I can't 100% answer for him, but most likely he probably doesn't have that same kind of connection. Yeah, of course. Any other questions, friends? Yeah. The scar on his back. So no, that is actually going to stay that coloration. It's just like if we were to get cut and we have a scar on our bodies, it'll typically have some discoloration. It's the same exact thing with him. So that white marking on him will be with him for the rest of his life. And it does shed. It's actually got pieces of shed that are coming off it now. So it might be darker in some spots, lighter in some spots, but it's always going to be that white coloration. Yeah. So he's yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So Michael talked a little bit about it, but I believe, and I could be speaking off turn here, so you might be better to answer this question in general. Great question. Any other questions, friends? No? Okay, well, like Michael said, we actually did bring another scaly friend with us for people to have an interaction with and potentially be able to touch. We did bring an American alligator with us who came from a very similar situation, was illegally possessed in Long Island, New York, was confiscated and now calls the sanctuary home. So Michael will have Jelly, is their name, outside of the room here. So as you guys exit, if you would like that interaction, you absolutely can. If you guys would like to get a little bit closer over here, we're not going to take him out again during this session. You guys can come up and take some pictures. I please ask that you maintain at least a 3 to 4 foot distance from the front. And if he is acting nervous, I will ask you guys to take some more steps back. Again, the well-being of the animals is our top priority, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe. Thank you guys so much for coming out today, for making Goose such a celebrity. It is so critically important that these animals do have their voice, and through you guys, they do. So thank you guys so much. If you would like to attend our fundraiser, there is more information out there next week. Thank you guys again, and we appreciate your time. Oh. So guys, just take one more big step back for me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gladys Kelly Library. My name's Jess. I'm the Adult Services Librarian. This is my friend Evan. He's the Assistant Director. We just want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you and to our friends, Mac, Michael, and Joni from Oasis Reptile Refuge and Sanctuary, which is where Goose lives. It is not open to the public, but Goose is here, and that's what really matters. We're so delighted to have him here. When they called and said, can he come in 2 weeks, we had to say yes. There was no doubt that, yes, we had to make it happen. We had to make it happen fast. I see some of you already have on Goose shirts. I love it. If you're interested in supporting the sanctuary and getting shirts from them, they've got some information out on the tables out front. If you're interested in getting this poster that Kate, our marketing star, social media maven, created for us, then please follow us on Instagram. You have to follow us and comment on the post that will be up later today that will say, I'm at Goose at the Gladys Kelly Library. So you have to comment that, and you got to follow us to be eligible to win this. There will be 2 winners. We're so excited. And if you're interested in following us easily, there are QR codes on the door with the link that'll bring you right to our Instagram page. What am I missing? No flash photography of Goose, please.
Our Instagram.
It's our Instagram page. Maybe it's an incentive to join.
Yeah.
We post a lot of silly things, a lot of Goose things lately.
Yeah.
And everyone today got stickers, right? Okay. If you are interested in purchasing a sticker for someone who is not able to attend, we are selling them for $1. That supports our friends of the library. And Kate has also designed some stickers that are not lies for people who weren't here. So here, yours says, I met Goose. The ones that we'll have available in the future just say Goose visits the library. So if people don't want to lie about having met him when they didn't, they can get those stickers, which will also be available. I think that's it for us. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over. We're so excited to have you. This is being live streamed, so if you have friends and family who couldn't make it, tell them to hop on our YouTube page and have a great time. We're so excited you're here.
It's already ready.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much to the from the library staff. We really appreciate you guys having us out and being able to share this special moment with you all. So just so you know, this is Goose's first experience out of the sanctuary since he was captured back in August. This is brand new to him. He's still getting very used to people. So just a couple of rules before we get started on a few things is please everyone stay in your seats. If you do need to exit, that's completely fine. Just don't come this way. Head out towards the back doors there. As well as, friends, please no sudden movements and just be as quiet as possible. We will have a Q&A at the end. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask at that time. But in general, we're all here for our friend Goose. He's such an amazing animal, and we're so happy that he is with us at the sanctuary. So you guys can see he's gotten very used to people. We have been working with him quite a bit to get him to this point to be able to come out to events like this. And he is an Asiatic water monitor species. He's still pretty small. These guys, they average about 7 feet long, and right now he's only about 4 to 4.5 feet. So I'm sure everyone here is pretty familiar with the situation that occurred with Goose, but he was someone's pet that they actually had illegally. These guys are illegal to possess in the state of Massachusetts. If you go to some of the surrounding states, they may be legal to possess. But it's incredibly important if you were to get a pet that... Is he wrapping around you? You got him? Okay. He likes to grip on when he can. So... It is incredibly important that if you are to get a pet that you do your research before doing so. Again, this animal will get even bigger. They need a large space. They do need to develop those muscles by doing things like climbing, natural things like trees. They need to be able to swim and do all of those natural behaviors that they would do in Southeast Asia where they're native to. Places like Thailand and areas like that. But he is absolutely such an incredible animal. This animal here, like I mentioned, is native to Southeast Asia, not to the Northeast New England area of the United States. We are so happy that he was found in the time that he was located, because if he wasn't, an animal like this couldn't survive in the cold of New England. As the temperatures start to drop, and in temperatures we get overnight in the 40s, the 30s, even in the 50s, these guys don't have the same ability to be able to regulate their body temperature. They actually need to use the air around them. They're not considered cold-blooded like a lot of people think. They're actually ectothermic creatures. So ecto means outside, thermic means temperature. So if it's 90 degrees in here, he's about 90 degrees. If it's 70, he's about 70. And if it's 0 degrees, what is he? An ice cube. Yeah, they don't do well in cold weather. They have to stay where it's always nice and warm. People are different. We're considered endothermic, which means inside temperature, and we do things like eat constantly to help. Yeah, it's a good one. To keep our body temperatures up so that we can tolerate colder temperatures and be able to regulate during different areas. We also have all these fancy clothes that we wear to help make sure that we stay nice and warm. These guys don't have that same ability. But let's talk a little bit about his story. Goose is pretty famous at this point. There's been quite a lot of interest. As just mentioned, the registrations for this event actually sold out in about 24 hours or so, and there was 250 slots available. He has definitely stolen a lot of people's hearts, and we are so happy in general that he has actually been able to bring... not in the eyeball. Oh, okay. You good? Okay. So he doesn't always have personal space in mind. Are you okay? Yeah, okay. He really likes to hang out in the highest point possible, so you'll see that a couple of times.
I can't see anyway. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
that's okay. He's using your head as a headrest. So, in general, he was located at about mid...
Send that picture to Rainforest Reptile Shows.
Yeah. In mid-August or so. He was loose for about 3 weeks. Within that area, he did travel about 2.5 miles that we can 100% confirm. We don't know. There was a lot of reports that he was seen down in places like Connecticut, across the state and other areas. Most likely, those reports were not him in other reptiles that we have native to places like Connecticut and Massachusetts. Most likely, the common snapping turtle. Someone saw them swimming in the water. They might look similar if you're not sure what you're looking at, and they probably reported him as loose in those areas. But we know 100% that he did travel from the house that he was living in. He had escaped from that space, and he had traveled down to the Douglas State Forest. He was actually found when someone drove by. One of the Douglas State Forest employees there actually drove by and saw him basking.
State employee, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
He just uses that road to go back and forth.
Oh, gotcha.
It was my boyfriend.
Oh, was it? Okay, perfect. Well, we have a first-hand account then.
Randy Smith.
Randy. Well, Randy...
For National Grid.
Oh, gotcha. So, thank you to Randy. We appreciate him.
The picture you see of
that's
the
okay.
animal on the roadway that was in the papers and everything, that the news companies flashed across everything, Randy had taken that picture.
Yeah, so animals like this, like we talked about a little bit earlier, are ectothermic. So as the temperature dropped overnight, he was coming out into the sun to warm up his body, make sure that he can do all those natural functions. And he did that pretty consistently over a 5-day period, which is what actually led to him being located. We were extremely skeptical that Goose would ever be found, to be honest with you guys.
No, I wasn't extremely skeptical. I said we're never going to find him.
Yeah, honestly. It was
Those
some...
are my words.
You drove really far that day.
Yeah.
To look for him.
Yeah. So our sanctuary is actually based up on the North Shore in Beverly. So we did travel about an hour and a half here with Goose to be able to give you guys this opportunity to be able to meet him and see why he is such an amazing creature. But he was out on that road. The environmental police as well as the Webster Animal Control were notified, and because of their efforts, we have Goose here today. He was actually down inside of a hole underneath a tree there where he was located. Actually, one of the officers pretty much just saw that tongue sticking out of the hole, and that's how they found it exactly where he was. There is... He's quite the character. So there actually is video footage online if you are interested in seeing the capture process of environmental police, animal control, and the Douglas State Forest representatives actually in that area, and we're able to capture him, which is why he's with us today.
Did he get injured at all when they put the catch pole line? Because I
Good
he was
question.
struggling, but he was not injured at all.
No.
I saw him. I was 10 minutes away when they captured him, so I saw him directly after that, and he was not injured at all. The scarring on his back, Mac will talk about.
Yeah, and just to repeat for anyone that's on the live stream or anything like that, was he injured when he was catch-pulled to be captured out of the wild of Webster? The answer is no. These guys have extremely strong necks, they have extremely strong muscles. He may have seemed like he was struggling some, but of course they needed to get him out of that space, first of all for his safety, but overall for the general public safety. So a lot of people have had a lot of comments of, why were we so scared of an animal like this out in the wild of Massachusetts? He looks pretty friendly to us. But if there was a situation where someone had a pet and they were walking a small dog across that area, these guys are carnivorous species. And if he were to try and use his natural behaviors and go after a small prey item like that, it could be a completely different story. And we might not all be here today celebrating that Goose was found, because he could have gone after different prey items that are about the similar size.
I thought they said that our animals and our children were safe. Like they
Of course.
attack them, like he doesn't go after
The likelihood
He
is
was talking at- what he was
extremely
talking about
low.
is someone walking down the road with a dog, a small dog or something. The behavior might come out. It's always possible. The animal's not going to really attack anything like that, but it's always possible. You never say never.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah, in general, the likelihood is extremely low. But of course, we want to make sure that everyone understands, especially people that are not as used to species like Goose here, because they are not native to areas that we live in, and it's not something that we're used to. But in areas of Southeast Asia where they are native to, you'll actually see them in the waterways there. You'll see them walking across the road. It's a much more common thing to actually see them out in the environment where people exist. They are extreme predators. They are carnivorous, so they eat all different kinds of meat products, things like birds and eggs. Anyone eat birds and eggs? No, wait a second. Who eats chicken nuggets? Yeah, you guys eat chicken nuggets. That's a bird. Anyone eat turkey on the holidays? Thanksgiving coming up? Yeah, that's a big bird. It's not Big Bird, but it's a big bird. Does anyone here like scrambled eggs? Scrambled eggs, anyone? Yeah, that's a scrambled bird. That's kind of gross. And does anyone here drink eggnog on the holidays? Yeah, that's a liquid chicken, and that's disgusting. I don't know why anyone drinks that stuff. But Goose, he does love to eat all those different kinds of food items. And in the wild, they are going to be actively hunting, which means he's actually going to be pursuing food, all different kinds of rodents, pretty much anything he can get his mouth on, he would eat. These guys in the wild, as they get larger, will actually predate on other lizard species or monitor species when they first hatch out of the egg. In the last session, we actually got a question about the paternal or maternal care of these animals, or what happens and how they breed. But in general, they're extremely territorial creatures. They're going to be very solitary. Yeah, is he climbing down now? Yeah. Just no Goose on the Loose 2.0, please. No sequels. We don't like those. So they are going to be pretty territorial of their space. Males will fight for females. They actually lay their eggs, and there is not paternal care or maternal care when they hatch. They are pretty much left on their own to be able to survive. But you guys can see he's extremely good at climbing. In the space that we actually designed and constructed for him, thanks to everyone here today and everyone that has donated or purchased a shirt, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you so much. That all of those funds have actually gone to building him his habitat. And we've raised about $5,000, but it is at least $4,000 to construct the space. He's got quite a large area with a fully filtered tub, naturalistic trees, branches, all these different things. And if you are interested in seeing it, we do have some videos on our social media, our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all those different kinds of things if you'd like to check it out. But yeah.
Well,
Oh,
again,
yeah.
that is something that, when I'm training the officers and consulting with them, I'm telling them, and I was there, I was searching also.
Stand closer to the mic.
I was telling them, please look in the trees, because he may be sunning himself in a tree. Fortunately, he wasn't climbing any trees. He was on the road, and he stayed on that roadway and came to the same spot every single day.
Yeah.
So
So
that's how we got it.
So in general, it really was the perfect storm for him to be able to be located. They swim extremely well, hence the term water monitor. They swim just like a crocodilian would. They use that long tail to help propel themselves in the water. You'll see their head sticking out, and you actually will probably see their back as they swim through the water. They can swim extremely quick. They will hunt for things like fish. Another big question that we got is, while he was out and had his adventure, was he hunting for food? Most likely yes. But when we actually had his first vet exam, the day after he had come into our care, we did see some things in his stomach. So he probably did find some food items, although it's extremely difficult to know for sure if he were to capture things. But another question that we got is, why did Goose specifically come to our sanctuary? Well, RRS Oasis was actually established in 2016. Rainforest Reptile Shows, the educational outreach organization, has been in existence since 1993. And in 1996, sorry, I did that last time too. 1995, there was actually a cobra, a snouted cobra, loose in a school, an elementary school in Stoneham, Massachusetts. There was no one in the general area that had any expertise or had worked with venomous reptiles, except for this gentleman right here, Michael. He actually worked at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm in Florida as the operations manager there, and had worked with all different kinds of venomous snakes throughout the world. And they had contacted him, and ever since then, we've had a very close relationship with the state officials and law enforcement agencies in the state. Over the years, we've actually grown that throughout the entirety of New England. So if you've heard of a situation that involves a reptile, most likely those animals do get placed at our sanctuary. And we use the funds that, thankfully, people have been so generous to donate to be able to provide for these animals and make sure that they have the proper care. In our care right now, we have about, he's given himself a blanket, I guess. But in general, we have about 400 animals in our care, all very similar to Goose. Within the last couple of weeks, we've gotten venomous reptiles, things like gaboon vipers and puff adders from Africa. We've also gotten...
It's always fun to have a house in Vermont that has gaboon vipers and puff adders.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, some things that people want to have as pets. We've also gotten caiman from Newark, right?
Until things go bad and then they
No,
don't
the
want
caiman came...
No, that's New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we had caiman, which are very similar to alligators that you'd see down in places like the southern part of the United States, but they just come from South America. We've also gotten Burmese pythons from Connecticut, all different kinds of things. And you might have heard earlier in the year, there was actually a snake that was loose in a set of bananas in a market basket up in New Hampshire. Did anyone hear about that? A few people? Well, that snake actually landed at our sanctuary. Law enforcement had called us as the experts. We went up, we transported that animal who came to our sanctuary. You don't need to worry about snakes in the bananas at the grocery store. It never made it out to where people are. That's not a fear that anyone needs to have. But it is something that does happen with importation of fruits, veggies, and all those different kinds of things. But that's ultimately why these animals do find home at places like RRS Oasis, and then they are used at times, depending on the individual, as ambassadors for educational programming, just like we're doing today. Because everyone has such fond feelings for Goose, it has been a great message for why our scaly creatures are so incredibly important. And it's so important to us that we can actually take you guys with us on those experiences to not only see them in person, but also have the opportunity to be able to touch and maybe even hold animals that we bring with us to our programming. All of them are extremely conditioned and have been doing it for a long time. We watch their body language and their behaviors very closely to let us know when they don't feel like they want to do it that day or they're done, like now where he's getting a little bit more uncomfortable. So we did bring another animal with us to be able to have everyone, to give everyone the opportunity to touch them at the end of the program. We do have an American alligator with us that will be out in the lobby area for you guys to interact with when we're all wrapped up.
Also,
Go ahead.
If you guys all live here in Webster, Douglas, those areas, so please, send a nice note to your animal control officer, Desiree, because she is the one who fed us all the information. So she's feeding us the information and the environmental police. The environmental police are bringing it to us. Mostly it just came from Desiree straight to us. So videos and things like that. So if there's an animal that is swimming through a pond, she would send us a video. And I would tell her, no, it's a snapping turtle. It is not a monitor lizard. So that animal, runs with his head up, his shell up, his tail up, looks like an alligator going through the water, and they thought it was a monitor lizard. Monitors actually swim with their heads up like a snake. They'll pull their heads way up out of the water and then paddle with their tail. It's very distinct. You can't miss it. So those kinds of things, all that information that was coming in, tips from you guys, were going to Desiree, to the police department, and then coming to us and the environmental police. So, she was instrumental in finding the animal because it was reported by Randy to her, and that's how the animal was found. So,
Yeah.
those local people did an enormous amount for finding this animal.
Yeah, as well as just spreading the awareness in general of the situation, really push this into a positive situation. And again, we wouldn't be here without everyone's support, and Goose wouldn't be here without everybody's support in general. But a special thank you to the Massachusetts Environmental Police, Desiree, the Webster Animal Control, as well as Randy, who was the first person to spot Goose, and the Douglas State Forest individuals who had helped make sure that they could monitor where everything was. But in general, I do want to open up some Q&A, but just a couple of things. If you guys do like what we do, you love Goose, we are actually hosting a fundraiser next week as well up in Concord, New Hampshire. I know it's a little bit of a drive, but if anyone is interested, all of the proceeds do go back directly to the sanctuary and the 400 animals that we do have within our care. It is a ticketed event. If you would like more information, we do have some flyers out on the table out front. We also are offering opportunities for t-shirts like you might see on Joni over here. All of those proceeds do go directly back to the sanctuary. And if you would like to make a donation, there is a couple of different options. It can be something that you can do on your phone. There is also a donation bucket out there. We do appreciate you guys. We really, really want to support our public libraries. We know how incredibly important they are to our communities, which is why we wanted to come back out here. And it is something that we made very clear when we first had brought Goose into our care, that we wanted to make sure we could bring him back out here because he was so followed. Is he telling you no more? Yeah. But thank you guys so much for coming out. We do also do programmings to help support the sanctuary, things like school programs, library events, all those different kinds of things. If that's something that you may be interested in doing, please come find Joni at the end. We are also offering, we have a very limited amount of them, but we do have some Goose painted footprints. This is actually a footprint of him. I didn't mention it in the first session because I completely forgot, but we do have a very limited amount. If this is something that you would be interested in, please find Joni at the end, and she can see if it's something. It is a donation towards the sanctuary.
I want to see how you got him to just do that.
I trained him how to high five, Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But if you guys would like, please check out the tables at the front. Does anyone here have any questions? Yeah.
Are you going to put a little marker where Goose was?
A marker from...
Well, just like to remember where it is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we understand it's so incredibly important to us to be able to have these stories, to be able to educate in general. So whenever we talk about these animals, we try extremely hard to talk about their exact situation. And Goose has been such a great advocate for not only reptiles in general, monitor species, lizards, and a lot of people have come up to us and said, I really don't like reptiles. They're very nerve-wracking, but I love Goose. And it's so amazing.
That might be an idea for the city of, or the town of Douglas. That's a main road, so where he was found, if you want a sign there, that's something that they have to take care of.
I see.
That's not something we can.
X on the road where he was.
Right, that was painted on there when we knew where he was. But as far as a sign, that would have to be something that the town of Douglas would take care of.
Thank you for
We don't
jumping in,
have
because I
any
think I misunderstood.
Jurisdiction over any of that. So just remember, we are not a governmental entity. We are private, okay? We are consultants for the Mass Environmental Police, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and many other departments across the country. So we are private, okay? There is not anyone that they hire, even their state herpetologists can't do what we do. They're not versed in the exotics that we are versed in. So that's why they use us as consultants to do that. We take no money in those situations. This is all because of the nonprofit and the animals and the love. It's not about us. It's about the animals. So remember that, okay? We don't try to, you know, there's a lot of organizations out there that take stuff, and we don't do that kind of thing. We're honest about what we're doing. So.
Yeah, and one other thing to add on there as well is, I didn't mention it during while we were talking, but we do train all of the officers on how to deal in these situations. So a big reason why the capture had gone so smooth was because that's something that we offer every single environmental police officer in the state.
Desiree was trained also.
The opportunity to be able to have hands-on experience with a lot of different exotic species. That includes things like venomous snakes, rattlesnakes, and cobras, large crocodilians, monitor species similar to Goose here. So they have a fundamental understanding. And we do that across the Northeast, all the way up into Maine, down into places like Pennsylvania, and across New England area. So that's a really great question. And before we take any other questions, Jess, if you want to come up, we do want to thank you guys so much for having us out, and we did want to give you guys a goose painting as another memory. Thank you guys. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Of course, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
He remembers that one specifically, you know. Any other questions? Yeah. Say it again. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we've got a lot of questions about the marks on his back. Those are actually scars from prior to him coming into our care. Those will never heal over completely. They will always be that white coloration. He is considered melanistic. So monitor species or Asiatic water monitor species actually look very similar to the picture on the side here. And thank you for doing that because it's perfect for this. They look much more similar to that. He's melanistic, which means he's actually got an excess amount of black pigmentation throughout his body, and that's actually bred in captivity to make them look that way, to be desirable for people to purchase and look unique. So those marks were actually from, he was at a prior institution. They had tried to pull him out from a habitat furniture, and he got his back marked up pretty badly. So those unfortunately won't heal over. They'll stay that way. They do shed just like any other portion of his body. And if you do have an opportunity to come up here afterwards, you can actually see parts that are much lighter and darker, and that's actually pieces of shed that are slowly starting to shed off. But that's a great question. Thank you. Yeah.
So I think what I read was the house he came from, he actually broke through the screen and, you know, he ended up 2 miles away. Do you have any guess why he went traveling? I mean, if he was at home, well cared for, all that stuff, was he
Good.
looking for a mate? What made him?
Good question. So unfortunately, we don't have the firsthand account for any of that. That would be a really good question for the Mass Environmental Police. I don't know exactly why he had broken out, but he had, I know for a fact, he had broken out of a window shade. So it was the screening, the window was open, the screen was there, and he pushed himself out. Why he pushed himself out of that space, I don't know exactly the reason, whether it was maybe he saw a prey item fly by, a bird fly by, a squirrel on the area that pushed him to do that. I don't know 100%, but ultimately he did push out of that window. He landed on a small little roof area and then landed on the ground from there. From there, there's not really much. If you did even want to try and go back, there's no possibility. But most likely, an animal like Goose or a monitor species are probably not going to be thinking about trying to get back to where they were. They're just going to try and find where they feel safe or explore, because he is so beyond curious, as you saw when he was on Michael.
Monitors mean monitor. We got a question in the last show. Monitors mean movement at the back legs and moving. Monitors. So they monitor. They have a huge range where they live. So they do set up territories, but they do have a huge range. So that's why when I consulted with the environmental police, when I talked to Captain Amati, I said, we're never going to find him unless he's sighted. We are never going to find him. And I kept reiterating that because I thought he would probably be dead by now, honestly, in November here, dead. So
It is sad, but unfortunately we get hundreds of calls every single year about situations very similar to Goose that unfortunately don't pan out the same way. So just to stress this again, it's so incredibly important that if we are going to get a pet, that we do our research. this animal is illegal to possess in the state of Massachusetts. It might not be legal, or it may be legal to possess in another state, but situations like this can actually proceed to more strict regulations if that's not something you agree with or you agree with more. It's really dependent on the situation. So it's responsible pet ownership is something that we will always promote and push. And again, we don't want situations like Goose. We're so happy that he's at our sanctuary and he was captured and found and has a place to live now, but it is so incredibly important that we do our research. Any other questions?
Here's one over here.
Oh, yeah.
So, two questions. One, so you said that he came from another institution, and that's how he came out here. But didn't they say that he came from another home, and the lady rescued him from a home, and then
No, she did not.
she didn't?
No.
Okay.
So the
Talk to that.
what?
That should be the environmental police.
Yeah, no, I agree. So in general, that should be a good question for the environmental police. That's not something that we have really any association with. The animals go through the environmental police and are then placed at our institution. So I don't know the logistics of any of that. There was at the press conference, which I'm sure, who here thought there was going to be a lizard press conference this summer? Anybody? Yeah? Definitely not us. So that's a really good resource. There was a lot of information placed there.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Yeah.
And it is on the environmental police website, and it is on their Instagram and Facebook. So
Yeah.
you can go back and watch that interview,
Yeah.
and you can get the information from there.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
No,
okay.
that's fine.
Did you have another
Fine.
question?
Yeah.
That's okay. If you think of it, just raise your hands. Yeah.
Does he eat every day, or how often does he eat, and what are his favorite things?
Yes. He really likes small, misbehaving kids. I'm kidding. No, he is a strict carnivore, so he does love those things like I mentioned before, the birds and eggs. He loves rats and mice. Beef are the top 3 things. He really likes sardines, was actually one of his favorite things that he immediately took to. But he will eat small meals every single day. These guys, because they're so active and he's in such a large space, he's burning off a lot more calories than an animal that might be in a smaller space. So we do give him supplemental feeds every single day. And we watch his body condition as well as give him weights consistently to make sure that he's not growing too quick or he's not becoming overconditioned, which could be detrimental to him. Great question. Yeah.
What kind of enclosure do you have in it? Is this traveling?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. So this is 100%, this is just for traveling, for display, so people can see him. I mentioned it at the beginning, this is the first experience that he's ever had out of the sanctuary and any type of educational one, and honestly, I think he did really well. Phenomenal, just being so curious. But we do have videos and information on the enclosure and the habitat that he lives in on our social media pages if it's something that you want to check out. I don't remember the exact dimensions off the top of my head, but he's got a 300-gallon...
11 feet by 10.
Yeah, it's 11 by 10 by 11. So it's about 11 feet wide, 10 feet 10 feet long, and then 11 feet tall. It's got natural trees in there, perches, things like he's got a 300-gallon tub that's completely filtered for him to swim in whenever he wants, perched areas, ramps that go up and down, and then heated areas for him to select when he wants to go in and out of those spaces. Great question, though. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, what are their relations to a Komodo dragon?
Great question. So Komodo dragons, they're in the same family group as Komodos. It's called Varanids, or Varanus is the general term, but they're not the same species. So different areas of the world, different kinds of ways that they would traverse as well as sizing, but they're in the same family group.
Because I know someone that raised a Komodo from a baby.
Oh, very cool.
With their children and their animals, and they never had no conflicts.
Yeah, so it's dependent. Animals in general can be raised, or reptiles in general can have close connections with people. It's not, say, like a cat or dog, but they can absolutely do well in a family setting, depending on the species and what it is. I would suggest probably not a Komodo dragon. It's not the best one to have in that situation,
This person worked
but
in the kind of the field that you did.
gotcha.
So they
Yeah.
would, they would train and they rescued it and brought it home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very cool. Komodo dragons are a species that's considered in the SSP for AZA zoos, which is the species survival program, and that's something that they do to actually help breed the populations to make sure that they have captive populations to potentially be able to release them back in the wild at a future date, or to make sure that the populations can survive
It wasn't
in the
able to
future.
go back
So,
into the wild.
Yeah, of course. It's extremely difficult if it's been raised with people. So, awesome. Any other questions, friends? Yeah.
What is the average lifespan of a water monitor?
So they're typically going to be living into their 20s or so, their late 20s is the typical average.
And that's average for most reptiles. Into the longest living snakes in the world are the boa family, anacondas and boas, same family, different species. So they live the longest, up to 50 or more, whereas normal animals, like we're talking about, in 25 to 30-ish in that area.
And
Even in captivity?
yeah, so typically captivity animals do live longer, and that's just because they get veterinary care, they get all the food that they'd ever need, they don't have to worry about stress of predators, things like that. And just to kind of jump on that too, things like tortoises, turtles, crocodilians have much longer life expectancy. So crocodilians up to 90 years or so, tortoises, some scientists think a couple hundred years even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he was loose, the fact that you guys found him, that he stayed in the same spot every single day, like he said, do you think maybe a little bit of depression was coming on him because he was
So-
like alone in a place he didn't know? And
Yeah, so I think something we talked about at the first one is I think a lot of times people put our emotions into animals that might not have the same capabilities of emotional understanding. There's actually been a paper recently that was published to talk about tortoises and depression, and there's actually a link correlation of tortoises and potential depression, but there's been nothing to specifically prove that within lizard species. So to say that he would be depressed would be a statement to maybe make us feel like we can understand it better, but most likely it's just a security thing. He found a hole where he felt secure, safe, he went into that area, he came out to do his natural behavior, which is bask and warm up his body. Those are the two very natural things that an animal this size. And then also, we do have things like coyotes over in the area that he was in, so there's possibilities of other predator animals that could have tried to pursue or hurt him, you know.
he's not venomous, right? I mean, they were saying they're
Great,
venomous animals.
great question. So there's a lot of debate actually within the herpetological community, which is the reptile community pretty much, that talk about varanids in general, which is that family group. Komodo dragons have actually been proven to be venomous over the last decade or so. They've actually found underdeveloped venom glands that are similar to things like beaded lizards as well as Gila monsters, which are the two known venomous lizard species. And they're wondering if that might be the same case with water monitors or other monitor species across the world. There's no clear evidence or statements or scientific data to back that up. So at this time, we would state that it's primarily a bacteria that they have in their mouths, but that's very similar to most carnivores in the wild.
Now, is that from eating like dead carcasses and stuff like that?
In general, wild carnivores will have more significant amount of bacteria that could be detrimental if it were to get into a wound, and that is from eating all those different kinds of prey items. But also in these guys, they do think that it has a ecological benefit to them to be able to hunt and find their prey. Things like Komodo dragons in the wild, they may, what they do for their hunting techniques is they grab onto a prey item, they bite into that, they, what's now understood is have that venom go into that wound, they'll actually follow that animal for multiple days, they typically will go into sepsis, and then that's when things like you'll hear about feeding frenzies with those animals would occur.
Oh, wow.
That's a great question. Yeah.
I was just wondering, maybe you answered this already.
Sure.
Is this the first monitor lizard you've had in your facility?
Yeah, we have quite a few. And we have all different species. So Goose here is an Asiatic water monitor. We also have quince monitors. We have Argus monitors. We have Savannah monitors. Black-throated monitor and that kind of thing.
That one
Yeah.
just came out of Boston, was left
Roxbury, yeah.
Maverick,
Yeah.
Goose and Maverick.
Yeah,
He was left
Yes.
on a lawn in
Roxbury.
Roxbury.
Yeah,
So in a tank.
yeah.
So that one you didn't hear about, and that one happened very quickly. Animal Control picked it up, and most of the stuff that we do, you never hear about, and
Yeah.
and that's the best way, our best case scenario, honestly, because it's just the way we've been working for all these years. Now we're trying to get more out there and get more awareness of what we're doing out there, how this is going. So that's why we're presenting this like we are. We want people to know.
So in general, since I mentioned we've been doing this since 1995, working with all these exotic illegal species primarily, on average we've taken probably anywhere from about 50 to 100 animals every single year at that point, from that time frame to today. So over the 30 years, it adds up a lot. And it's not something that we publicize. We typically will post about 10% of the animals that are coming into our facility at any given time. So if it is something that you're interested in knowing more about, please go ahead and follow us on our social media pages. Thank you to everyone that did follow Maverick and had the opportunity to vote on the naming of Maverick. But that was
Wasn't right after Goose.
it was
not too long.
September or
Yeah.
so. And he's been adjusting well as he was very, very nervous around people. Now at this point we can take him out and have him out on hand, and he's doing much better. Great question.
Very
though.
good.
Wasn't an animal that was like kind of semi like trained like Goose was.
Not that we know of. There's really not much information on him though. Yeah. Did you have a question here?
Are we gonna touch the goose?
So we're not going to have anyone touch Goose today because it's his first opportunity. But I did mention we did bring Jelly, who is an American alligator someone had as a pet. They came in with another individual. Their name is Peanut Butter and Jelly. We just have Jelly with us today. It's not a full sandwich, but it is an opportunity. So at the end, as everyone's exiting, Michael will have Jelly out in the lobby. If you like an opportunity to go up and touch, you can absolutely do that. But thanks for that question. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So we did confirm with the environmental police, Massachusetts Environmental Police, that he is about 5 years old. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Good. Good question. We did confirm that at his initial vet appointment. Yeah. Yeah. So there was reports of Goose being in all different waterways, all the way out into Connecticut. None of those, the videos that were sent to us, none of those were actually Goose. The only confirmed sighting that we had known of was from Randy out on the Southwest Main Street. Yeah.
Do you think that he did go into any of the lakes?
It's possible. We have no idea. It's about a 2.5 mile distance directly from the house where he had ventured from. So it's about 2.5 miles. He could have done all different kinds of things within that time frame, and he was out for about 3 weeks. So.
He was like in the backyard, semi in the woods backyard, deep in the backyard of the house, right? Kind of.
I'm not 100% sure of exactly where he went afterwards, and that's the hard part is we don't know where he went. He could have bounced around, but most likely he probably went to that location and then stayed there. Any other questions, friends? Yeah. So their average lifespans are going to be about into their 20s or so. Good question. Last question, friends. Someone that hasn't had an opportunity. Yes.
What makes them illegal, and how does one get a monitoring facility in Massachusetts?
Good question. So the first part was what makes them illegal. So that's just based on the legislators. And some of that information comes from all different institutions. So sometimes they may see a situation similar to Goose. If something like I mentioned throughout the duration, if Goose were to be much more defensive of his space and someone were to walk by there and he were to even show any signs of defensiveness, it could be a completely different story where legislators see that, they think that they're not good pets, and they could result in legislation banning animals like that. They are legal to possess in the closest state is actually New Hampshire. You can own them and have them as a pet in New Hampshire. And I believe in the initial statement that he was understood to have come from New Hampshire down into the state. The person that he had escaped from had him for, I don't know the exact duration, but I believe the environmental police did make a statement on how long they had him. And he has had escape from there, but he initially came from New Hampshire. Great question. All right, guys. If anyone does have any other questions, you guys can feel free to come on up here. If you would like to get some pictures of Goose, the sun has gone down a little bit. It's a little bit easier for the glare. You guys can come up to this area. Please just give him about 3 or 4 feet from that space. Michael will also be out front with Jelly, the alligator, if you like that opportunity. Please, guys, consider coming to the fundraiser. Thank you guys so much, and thank you again to the library.
Where he was found, he actually was reported by custody in the other areas, because Walton Lake has aqueducts. The state of Connecticut and state of Rhode Island has if you go down to where he was found, you look, there's a trail in the street, and there's no aqueducts in the area.
With him being out for so long, he really gets out of a lot.
He's trying to
on his head.
He's trying to look around everybody, which is really funny. All right, so let other people go.